All right, cool. So going back into it, Monday, June 9th, overnight price action. Sunday, during the Asian session, we swept Friday's low here, pushing up just ahead of the open. We have a bit of trendline liquidity, so we'll mark that out. See all of these highs, but I'm not going to mark everything out. And then right here is Friday's high, so previous day high. So we'll see what comes up right at the open. We have this 1 minute fair value gap holding. That's what we'll mark out for now. The rest of this, we'll worry about when we get there. Then a couple bearish 1 minute fair value gaps here as well. So bit of friction going up, but we do have buy side liquidity above. Ideally, what we want to see is some sort of drop down as a manipulation move, and then getting a long back up with these highs being our draw. Or if the open just goes straight up and sweeps Friday's high, a reversal short would be nice, right? At the open, we always want to look for manipulation and then trade the real move. So this is 9:30 open. Oh, this is 9:30 open. You see we swept one high and another high here. We're in this bearish 1 minute. Kind of walk this through a bit. Rejected this bearish 1 minute, coming back down. Obvious low there. Nothing to trade so far. Bit of chop right now. Okay, this low has been swept. Looks like we're headed for some of these. Okay, swept these lows. Strong reaction there. So anytime this happens when we have an immediate reaction to a sweep, whether it be buy side or sell side, I'll mark that out like that. Here we don't have any 1 minute fair value gaps to inverse to the upside. Now there might be stuff on the 30-second, but for backtesting sake, just so you guys can get better at this model, I'm not going to be looking at the 30-second. When we see a 1 minute inversion, we'll analyze whether or not to take it. Okay, so there's our first 1 minute fair value gap formation post equity open. I will get rid of this sweep now. Okay, so we tapped into it, haven't closed above yet. And there we have that closure above this 1 minute bearish fair value gap. So a setup like this, what you need to ask yourself is, number one, what's the draw, right? Strong hourly or 4-hour or daily highs, where are they, and what could price be pulling towards based on what's been swept, what fair value gaps are being respected. And right now what I'm seeing is Friday's high as well as overnight high up here, right? Friday's low has already been swept in the overnight session. And the open was just a sell-off to the downside. Now, conversely, you also want to be aware of why setup could fail. And in this case, we did sweep an internal high here. I know it doesn't stand out, like it's not a particularly important high, but it is a swing high, right? And that did get swept, and we did not close above it. That said, a setup like this, I would still take. Reason being, one, we swept these lows, right, on this candle. Early longs got stopped with another low sweep here. We get that displacement with a 1 minute fair value gap being formed, and then we close above. And we also form a 1 minute order block by closing above and displacing above this bearish candle. So this is a setup, in my opinion, with a bullish draw, with manipulation having occurred, with early longs being stopped out, and bullish delivery confirmation there. This is worth taking. And this is a setup that if it gets stopped, it is what it is. Every confluence I look for is there. And it's a worthy setup in my opinion. So buy this at the close. Some people may wait for a retracement, being that it did take internal liquidity. My goal with this stream is just to help you guys sort of see the model and my analytical reasoning behind it. So I'm not going to be going for perfection here, but entry at the close, stop at the low of this 1 minute candle that formed the inversion. And then I'm going to TP at these wicks, right, about there. Fairly safe take profit in my opinion. Now, this has potential to go to our draws, but I'm not, I'm not demanding perfection. But either way, anytime you're taking an A plus setup, the way you know its quality is you're happy to take it, right? You understand that in a data set of 100 trades, this is a setup you want to be taking, win or lose. So we'll play this out straight to TP. So this is an example of a truly, truly high quality trade, and this is something you can take and be done trading for the entire day, right? $310 with 1 mini, 15 points, straight bullish delivery, right? Obviously I got in at the close, and price was eager to move upward, right? If you waited for a retracement, you would have missed this. I often find that entering at the close versus a retracement is a smart thing to do when you have so much confluence, right? We had the opening manipulation, we have the bullish draw above, fix that for value. Yeah, we have the bullish draw above, right? We have the liquidity sweep there. So this is all great. And then the confirmation, right? We have the inversion, we have the order block, A plus setup. So I'll screenshot this. 15 points, this is all I need, right? Now, will more A plus setups come? Yeah, probably. But the goal is to focus on the setups, right? I'm not being greedy and demanding more. I'll just mark this out for my journal. We have previous day high way above there. Right, we had this liquidity sweep right here, beautiful. And again, remember, early longs were stopped here, so that's just even more manipulation, and that's how you know a real move is likely to distribute. High of the day there, previous day high above. Right. Setups like this is what you want to wait for. This is why you want to preserve your capital, right? You don't want to be getting caught up in chop before this and being stopped out and having poor psychology by the time an A plus setup does come. So that's Monday. We'll jump into Tuesday now. And as you can see, nice bullish delivery, swept Friday's high shortly after our long setup. Some people will wonder, why, if your analysis is so good and price did end up going to Friday's high, why did I only take 15 points? I'm looking for precision, right? It's easier to have an edge on a lower time frame on a smaller move than it is on a higher time frame and on a bigger move. Your draw on liquidity is just that. It's a magnet pulling price. I'm not saying the draw is my target, right? I'm using the draw to add to my bias when in a trade. This is far more sustainable, in my opinion, than going for whole daily moves and demanding the market give me exactly what I want to see. So if we look at Tuesday, just ahead of the open, overnight price action, quite violent. I don't remember what news we had. I know CPI was Wednesday last week. But anyway, you can see Friday's high is here. That was swept on Monday. Didn't really push above it. Monday's high is here. We absolutely blasted above it on Tuesday, overnight session. This is during Asia. And then we came crashing down as London session began. Bit of a recovery here. And if we throw a Fibonacci tool from London high to London low, or somewhere around equilibrium, just below. So a lot of action at equilibrium, right? Key PD array on the daily chart. Something to be aware of. Obviously, with this massive sell-off and a sweep of Monday's low here, I am leaning toward a bullish bias. However, this is such a big move overnight. You kind of need to be neutral and just see what the market gives you. Times like this where you don't have a clear draw and there's already been a ton of action before the bell, this is when you want to look at manipulation and see, okay, how are we manipulating? What PD arrays are being respected? And where does price seem to be headed, right? Rather than marrying a bias before the open, just adapt to price when the conditions are a bit blurry. So we'll mark out what 1 minute fair value gaps are present. We have this one here. We have one up here, right? What's already been inversed, I don't care about. You know, that has nothing to do with me anymore. I'm just looking at what fair value gaps are open and holding. So we have this bullish there, and then a small one here. Now I don't care about all that until we get down there. But for now, this is our range. This is what I'm looking at. So let's see the open. Okay, you're gonna move up, sweep some of these highs. Obviously in a premium, I'm gonna remove this fib tool. We kind of know where we are. It's in the daily range, and I don't need any extra tools on my chart right now. Mark out this high, pretty clear. Okay, so this entire 930 opening move was just eradicated by the following candle. Sort of bouncing between these two fair value gaps now. Right, dug a little bit deeper here, came back up. Okay, so we did inverse this big bullish 1 minute, but that closure only happened after we tapped this fresh lower 1 minute, so nothing to do there besides remove that. First 1 minute fair value gap has been formed for the equity session. So this could be good, right? You kind of want to be planning your trades. So if we do get a closure above, trade might look something like this. TP just before CE of this wick. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Oh, and then there we go. So there's the closure we're looking for. Yeah, take profit would be right about there. As you guys know, with my stops, I like to ask what can defend my position. So we didn't form any 1 minute order block here, which is fine. We have this 1 minute volume imbalance down here. I'll mark that out with a blue box. So I'll use this to sort of defend my position, right? In addition to the inversion itself. And then I'll also mark out the CE of this wick. And then I might just put my stop a tick or two below that. So right about there. Get rid of some of this mess. And this is fine at the close for me. Now, this setup is not as great as Monday's long that we just took. Less clear of a draw, right? And a bit more of a choppy market thus far into the day. But we will still give it a shot. Now, yeah, I don't know if TradingView is going to play this out, but there we go. So another successful trade. 12 points, that's another $250-ish. Yeah, about 250 bucks with 1 minute. So as you can see, 2 trades into the week, we are up over $500. That is off of 1 minute inversions. Now it really depends on how many accounts you guys are trading, how many groups you're trading. You may need to seek more volume than this, but sticking to A+ setups and really just stacking those high quality trades under your belt is what'll get you paid. So we'll call it there for Tuesday. Right, and you see there's a ton of analysis, there's a ton of backtesting and narrative and journaling that I do that goes into seemingly such a small trade, right? I'm just looking for a 1 minute setup and that's it for the day, right? But this is all precision. And even if it's a losing trade, if it's an A+ setup, I'm happy to take that. Right, just letting your edge play out. When you trust your edge, you have nothing to fear. So jumping forward to Wednesday, this is CPI day, which is obviously pre-market. Okay, so we'll analyze price. Pretty clear CPI candle here. We have data low here, and always mark out data lows and highs. Those are significant influxes of volatility, and this kind of defines the range we're set to. So these lows and highs kind of act as as their own draw, right? All right, so data low, data high there. Obviously, huge 1 minute fair value gap here. I don't really love to mark this entire thing out. It just gets a little too messy. So what I'll do instead is just mark out the low of the fair value gap, and I'll just put data FEG low. So once we close below this line, I know this has been inversed. I'll make that a bit smaller. All right, so obviously, ton of buy side has been swept. We are above Tuesday's high, Monday's high, right? This is the highest price has been this week so far. Some clear sell side liquidity down here, right? And obviously with a news reaction that is just straight up, you know, very rarely will this continue. Oftentimes price does want to come back down and test a data low, but it is good to know that we do still have data high above, right? So if we get bullish price action, we have a draw there. If we get bearish price action, we do have a draw below. But just looking at where we are on the week, I would be bearish bias. And we can mark out some of these lows down here. All right. So going into the bell, this is 9:30 open, fairly small. As far as bearish fair value gaps, really is just, I think there might be one here. Yeah, I mean there's a one tick fair value gap there. But the big one is obviously this one. And then again, remember we are in a huge 1 minute bullish fair value gap, so I'm not taking any shorts until this is closed below. Okay, so formed a fair value gap right at the open. Have not tapped into it yet. Close below this 1 minute. So this could become a bearish order block, right? We're watching out for that. Notice how price is gradually drawing down. Okay, so we just tapped this fresh 1 minute. Right, no bullish fair value gap formed here. So this is kind of getting a bit choppy. Just be aware of that. Fast forward a bit. Creeping up through it. Nope, didn't close above, right? Came right back down. Now we'll see if these up close candles can hold. So far, these three have failed. 1 minute holding very aggressively. Price does not want to move up. Down, down, down. Okay, getting close to inversing this big 1 minute. Right, we're watching this line here. And I'll mark it in yellow, make it a bit easier to see. Every up close candle thus far into the open has been closed below. So this might become one big bearish order block here, right? Now, all right, so what happened here? We did obviously get the closure below this 1 minute, but price just was too eager to go to data low, and we did not get an entry there. So all good. Analysis was accurate. We just didn't get what we wanted. And that's how it goes sometimes. So keep watching here. Now we do have this low down here. As far as taking a short down here, I'm not particularly interested in it. I would need some sort of a retracement and a reaction. Okay, formed another huge average 1 minute there, one just above it as well. Pushing up. All right. So this is why we don't chase shorts, right? Or longs, whichever way the market is moving. Our draw was engaged, and we've taken a ton of liquidity there. So this is not a move you want to chase. Now, on the flip side, we did inverse both of these bearish 1 minute fair value gaps. So as far as a long goes, what do we have above? We have data high. We do have 930 high, which sometimes can be a magnet for price, right? There's been no price action above this high since the bell. Now looking at a long setup, that would look something like, obviously I want to be out, you know, at this fair value gap. If you're not exiting here, you want to be break even, right? You don't want risk on the table when price has already shown that this fair value gap has been rejected. This setup is definitely one that is more appealing on a retracement, right? You know, you can go for an order block entry. So what bearish candles have we closed above? What opens rather? We closed above this open and this open. So this would be something like an order block entry. In this case here, I would want to let price tap this freshly formed bullish 1 minute right here. I'll make this a bit cleaner. So this is the uppermost 1 minute bearish that we just inversed. 1 minute bullish inversion. You know, I would take this, but I do want a retracement. Now, TradingView, as you guys know, doesn't let you do retracement entries when you're in backtesting mode. So I'm going to buy at the market right now, but we will just pretend that I got a retracement entry, something like there, right? If that doesn't happen, we'll just count this trade as a non-trade. TP just before this 1 minute for value gap, and my stop would be just within this freshly formed bullish fair value gap. So letting that play ahead. Yeah, this went straight to take profit. Again, price is in a rush here. Now, as far as risk reward purposes, this is something that I probably would have missed out on, right? I did not get that retracement that I would have wanted. Price did offer a bit here, right? So we closed at 978, came down to 975, but it didn't come as far as I would have wanted to, right? After having moved 924, 50 points straight up, right? I would have allowed price to tap into this fresh fair value gap. So to satisfy risk to reward, I would have liked an entry there. We'll keep looking for another setup here. And again, only 21 minutes into the open, so plenty of time in the day. We'll see if price wants to come up to that data high. Okay, once again, rejecting this 1 minute for value gap. Strong reaction here. Now here we're just bouncing between fair value gaps, right? Okay, formed another. All right, so this is getting very choppy. Not conditions to be forcing setups in. Finally, we got this inversion. This is not actionable for me. I'm certainly not longing this. Reason being, internal liquidity has been swept and still within this range of chop. This could easily run, but I would rather play it safe. All right, more bullish for value gaps forming. Now, here when price begins to form consecutive higher lows or vice versa, lower highs, in this case higher lows, without displacement, right? There's no fair value gaps amongst these candles until you get down here. These often serve as good liquidity targets to the downside. Just consecutive higher lows. People are trailing their stops here. Price will sometimes just dump and take all of this liquidity. But we would first need a short setup to form. Okay, I'm gonna just let this play. Getting choppy again. So I'm gonna remove all of these for now. We're well beyond this range. Slow grind up. So we're about an hour into the equity session. Okay, bit of action here. Didn't quite inverse this. And we have a lower 1 minute as well. see here we're rejecting this 1 minute volume imbalance. Okay, so we did get this inversion. Now, looking at the setup, one, I'll mark out this volume imbalance to be aware of. But if we were to enter short, what would the trade look like? So we have this for value gap below. Now this is not a very juicy trade here, right? There's not a ton of room in this setup. So what you can do, what I would recommend doing in a situation like this, one, you either look for a retracement entry, right? Maybe something like that, and then you get about 9 points if price delivers to this fair value gap. Or, you know, if you're entering at the close, you go break even here and then look for some of these lows. So that's how I would like to play this. And if we get stopped, we get stopped. But, you know, we've had this massive move up, swept all of these highs here. We do have data high all the way up here, but that is still another 70 points away. It's not like we're super close to that. And then rejection of this 1 minute bearish volume imbalance. This is how the trade is going to look for me. I might actually just put my stop at the swing high. Risk reward is good. So we'll go short at the close, stop loss at the swing high. And my TP will be just before these wicks here. However, I'll go break even at this 1 minute fair value gap if we get there. Okay. Not looking good right now. Reason being is likely this 1 minute volume imbalance. Yeah, so this is a stop out, all good. That's the thing with these volume imbalances. Sometimes they'll have no effect, and sometimes they'll, you know, in this case of a bullish trend, this just supported price to go right back up. But first loss on the week, not anything to be upset about. Okay, more chop. No displacement so far. Oh, there it is. Okay, did not form any fair value gap. There's one here. Now this is really choppy. You see these wicks are just, wicks and movement is both ways right now. So not a condition to force trades at all. And this is an hour and a half into the day. I'd be looking to call it somewhere around here, but we'll see if anything pops up in the next few minutes. Okay, so we get this formation of a bearish fair value gap. Overall delivery today has not been fantastic, right? We didn't get that long retracement down there. And then all of this chop. So if you're taking losses on a day like this, you know, you really want to be careful about how you manage risk and when you walk away. Get this huge move out of nowhere. Nothing to do there. Yeah, there's the continuation. This is often what happens when there's a ton of lackluster movement in the market. You'll get these big moves. This happened a few times last week. And unfortunately, at least in my system, there's no way to catch this. Like, there's no entry up there. Watch this for a couple more minutes. Okay, so price did inverse this bearish 1 minute. In this case, a bullish draw would be this fair value gap up here. However, I wouldn't be taking this on a close. We would look for some sort of retracement to satisfy our risk to reward. So this trade would look something like this for me. I wouldn't want to be risking too much. We'll see if we get this retracement. If not, okay, so price did give that, and then it's just straight down. So that's where I would call it here on Wednesday. overall not fantastic price action this day. There were some 30-second setups that I remember on Wednesday, but for the sake of the 1 minute, not great. Okay, Thursday. Go through this one a bit quicker. Wednesday's low here. We obviously swept that overnight. We did sweep these relative highs just now. Fairly neutral in bias, right? We did also sweep this low. But big reversal from Wednesday's bullish CPI news, right? We didn't even take data high on Wednesday. So looking at the 1 minute. Bunch of trendline liquidity here, right? Which is just consecutive, in this case, lower highs. Those get ran through. So just like I was saying, when you have those stops right stacked on top of each other, this is what the market will sometimes do. Okay, so we form a bullish 1 minute there, swept this high. Okay, a little bit of chop immediately off the open. Respecting this 1 minute, swept this high once again. All right, another large fair value gap has been formed. Very choppy. This is not what you want to see at the open. Okay, and again, there's a big move to the downside, but no setup there. Okay, we did inverse this, but that was after tapping this lower 1 minute for value gap. Nothing to do about that. Okay, so, well, missed this setup, but this would have been a good 1 minute long. Now I'll chop this off right there. This setup here. So what do we have? With consistent lows being respected, right? So this is 9:30 open. This low does not get violated on this move down. Get another move up. This low does not get violated on this move. And then we get this internal sell side sweep here, right? So we have a delivery from a sweep here. We have a bullish trend. We have delivery from this fair value gap created at the open. And then we have the inversion here. So a setup like this, I'd be looking at this high as a target. Obviously, we do have this bearish 1 minute fair value gap there that is opposing to our trade idea. So this is break even for me, right? Mark that out, and then my TP is at this high. Stop can be, you know, if you're not comfortable with a 0.78 risk to reward, what you can do is also put your stop at the mean threshold of this order block. But for me, this is fine. Stop is there, TP at this high, and then so trading view, unfortunately, when your stop is on the same candle, that'll automatically stop you out. But if we remember, we're up about 500. I'll put my stop just a little bit lower this time. There, TP at this high, and then this goes just take profit. Right, so break even stop would have been 6 points, and then market continues up. We can look for one more setup on Thursday. That wasn't the biggest. So that's something like 3 or 4 wins, 1 loss so far. I think it's 4 wins now in the week, 1 loss. this is how you want to be trading, right? You don't want to abuse the 1 minute, the 30-second. Just because the setups are there doesn't mean everyone is worth taking. Okay, so let me chop this one off. What do we have here? We get another leg up, bit of chop, a drop down. Now we did inverse this 1 minute there, but then shortly after, after this wick happens, this internal sweep happens, we get a bullish inversion. This for me is a little bit too high up, right? I would have wanted a bit more of a retracement, maybe into this fair value gap to take a long like this. Reason being, if this gets stopped, I would just regret that I took the trade. So we'll watch it, see if this delivers to this high. Nothing yet. Now we have this lower 1 minute form there. Something I would be watching would be equal lows here, right? Just above 21.9. Okay, so we get this inversion. Like I said, this long is too high up for me, but this short is something I would take with this equal low draw. If you notice here, we do have a volume imbalance. This was reason for our last stop out. So I'll mark that out, and I'll probably go break even there. My stop on this trade would be the high of this order block. This, I'd be in at the close. Once again, my stop, I'm going to put it just above, so TradingView doesn't stop me out. But just imagine it being there in my TP at these equal lows. Nothing yet. So stop out there. All good. So 1 win, 1 loss on Thursday. About an hour into the market. Again, conditions thus far, Wednesday, Thursday, have not been fantastic. All right. A bit more chop. Yeah, nothing worth watching there. Jumping to Friday. Huge sell-off here overnight. This was from Middle Eastern conflict news. So a bit more volatility than usual going into the day. Here we have relative highs. All right, so we'll mark out what's been holding. Got some highs here. And then one there, tiny one there. So let's see the open. Open is straight up. Relative highs are gone. I believe we had tapped a fresh 15-minute and maybe an hourly for value gap at this point. So you can see that this fear overnight is getting bought up so far at the open. Okay, so we inverse this, but we are in these bigger 1 minute for value gaps. Again, more of this consolidation. This was a common trend last week after the open, fortunately. Bearish reaction here. Okay, this did not get inversed here. This is right at the edge, so this fair value gap is still holding. Yep. Still holding. Now we have this bearish fair value gap as well there. So I'm going to remove this for visual sake, but this is still an active bullish fair value gap. Okay, so this was news, I believe. Unfortunately, we didn't get a long setup there. Nothing great there. Okay. So tap this bearish, so far respecting that, and we're just bouncing between these fair value gaps right now. Yeah, last week there was a lot of this stuff. So in this case, you would have been waiting on this inversion, right? But instead price just runs quickly to what would have been our short target there. So inactionable. Nothing to do there. And this is about an hour in so far. All right, so we do have a long setup here. Unfortunately, this is going to be break even very quick due to how close this bearish fair value gap is. But if we look at an entry, let's say at the edge of this inversion, and we look for an exit at this internal high, about 13 points there, stop, something like that. You know, I would just put my stop actually at the beginning of this wick, right? Let price retrace all the way down here if it wants to. Ideally, that wouldn't be great, but we've seen these big wicks here, so don't want to risk it. Now we have this fresh sweep there. So let's see if we can get this trade. Now, again, my stop will be lower than it actually needs to be. And straight to TP. So that's a good way to end the week. 13 points there. If I recall correctly, that's 2 losses and something like 5 wins. So that's just off of the 1 minute, right? If you're trading the 30-second, those metrics will be a bit skewed, hopefully for the better, with a bit more precision, right? So when you have those big moves that come out of nowhere, sometimes the 30-second will offer a setup that the 1 minute doesn't, right? Just being a bit more zoomed in. But that's the way to trade, you know, lower time frame inversion scalping. You really want to do as much higher time frame analysis as you can, and then just come in and strike with precision on these lower time frames. But that'll be it for today. I'll see you guys later.